Hey everyone, music lovers all, welcome back to the PROGCAST, where we speak with what I would like to think are the major figures of all different types of progressive music, jazz, rock, pop, anything you can think of. If somebody has been a creative force in that music, we like to speak to them. And today I have the honor of speaking with the keyboardist and guitarist and composer, David Sancious. Hi, David.
Hi. Nice to see you, man.
So nice to see you. So nice to have you. Everybody knows that David has an incredible discography. His solo albums, Forest of Feelings, Transformation, Speed of Love, Dance of the Age of Enlightenment, True Stories, Just As I Thought, are all considered masterworks, and I think rightly so, of the progressive music genre. But he's also collaborated with some of the greats, Peter Gabriel, Jeff Beck, Eric Clapton, Santana, Sting, John Anderson, and of course he's an original member of the E Street Band, which I believe was named after the rehearsal place where you lived.
Yes, it was. It was just our house. It was our garage and sometimes our basement.
Nice.
On 1105 E Street in Belmar, New Jersey. Yeah, so that was Bruce's idea. He came up with that.
Well, you know what? Jersey. We're Jersey boys and proud of it, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
a lot of cool music, a lot of really creative and very much innovative musicians came out of New Jersey. And of course, I think of you in that context. There's so much to talk about. We have a tour coming up with Open Secret, you and Dave, and Will Calhoun and my Mahavishnu Project.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about that.
Yeah, it's going to be a night of music. Anyone coming to the show is going to be really be very, very satisfied. It's going to be a broad variety of music. It's going to be great.
It really is. And you can find information about that at therealdavidsancious.com. You can find links to tickets also at mahavishnuproject.com. We have links to tickets. I think just right out front, I want to say, please like, subscribe, and hit us on Patreon. The upcoming Open Secret tour dates are May 1st at the Falcon in Marlboro, New York. May 2nd, it's a Friday, at Orion in Baltimore. Then we have the Sellersville Theater on May 5th in Pennsylvania. The Elkton Music Hall in Elkton, Maryland on May 6th. On May 7th, we're in New York City at the Cutting Room. May 8th, we're at the Natick Arts Center in Natick, Massachusetts. And May 9th, we're at the Stone Church in Brattleboro, Vermont. And then on the 10th, the Mahavishnu Project is going to be playing at the Triumph Brewery in Red Bank, New Jersey, not far from Belmar. And David is going to be playing with Will Calhoun in New Hampshire at the LaFaro Center for the Arts. So look out for all these shows. I mean, folks, live music of this type does not come around that much. So
yeah, unfortunately not. Yeah, it's sad to say, but it's true. So we're all looking forward to it. It's going to be fun.
Yes, we're really excited. We're going to be starting rehearsals very soon, and we'll be out there. Do meet us out there. David, there's so much to talk about. I'm really curious about this shore town thing. And, you know, having spent so much time in my life on the Jersey Shore,
right?
How does music figure into your life? Because I don't know enough about you as a developing musician, as a composer, as a pianist. What was that household like?
Oh, my household, what was it like? My household was like living inside of an FM radio station from the 60s, you know, like a commercial free, you know, like, you remember, you might be too young, but there was this station WNEW.
I'm not too young.
Okay, well, there you go. Then you know all about it.
Oh, yeah.
My house was like that. And I'm the youngest of three boys, so a family of five. And everyone in my family had their own distinct musical taste. And we overlapped, which was the thing that sort of made it work. My mom was really into classical music, and she played really well especially when I was that age. She was a school teacher by profession. But she really inspired me to play the piano. That's a whole other sort of story. But my father was very much into jazz, jazz from the 50s and 60s and all to that. He was really into singers like Ella Fitzgerald. He turned me on to organ players like Jack McDuff, Jimmy Smith, Groove Holmes, all those people. He was an avid listener, And my oldest brother was very much into avant-garde jazz and other stuff. My middle brother was more like into everything. He actually turned the whole family onto Indian classical music. He came home from school one day and he bought a box set of Ravi Shankar. So in the morning, and it was funny, to be honest, tell the whole story. It was so new to everyone but to us. So somebody in our family teased him for about 10, 15 minutes. But after we really started sitting and listening to it, I think my father took him a minute to get into it. But as soon as I started really checking it out, I was fascinated by it. And if you remember that period too, Ravi Shankar was quite popular, for a time in American culture and all that. But it was that I would wake up and I could hear everything from like Chopin in the morning because my mom would play before she had to go to work. And she played as much as she could on the weekends. So I could hear Chopin in the morning, followed by, Joni Mitchell before we went to school, Hendrix. There was so much great music came out at the time. And then, I was really into all the organ players like Jimmy Smith. So, and then, that height of the time was the R&B as well. There was so much great R&B. James Brown, come on. There was just so much great stuff. And I had never had anyone tell me what I could or could not listen to or what I should or should not be paying attention to. It was just a big open, field for me to get into whatever I wanted at my own pace, to my own degree. So, having such a broad, harmonically and rhythmically, conceptually broad pool of music to be exposed to on a daily basis is what really, I think, shaped me in a good way. And of course, then I had my own interest as well, which sort of, it wasn't just a conglomeration of what they were into. Of course, I was, interested and magnetized to other things. And also all of that together was, really fun, actually.
And so much fodder for creativity, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, tremendous. It was such an energetic experience, because I'm very affected by music, of any kind. It really does a thing to my emotional state, and then of course the physical and all that. But I'm very sensitive to music in an emotional way, and then of course in a vibrational way. But and as rich as that environment was for me, it's not like anything ever stopped or changed. I'm still the same person in terms of like what I'm interested in when I hear it and what sort of moves me and makes me want to go. I'm still going deeper and deeper into music. I have on this bookshelf up here. My mom and I, for a time, she got me lessons. I started playing when I was 5 years old because we moved into this house, 1105 East Street in Belmar, New Jersey. And part of the sale was the house. We moved from Asbury Park to Belmar, which is like 8 miles away. Right. But our conditions, the neighborhood that we left and the house that we left, it was like suddenly you went from economy, the last row in economy, to like business class, like a business class with a window seat and all. It was like the quality was so dramatically different, We had a bigger house. We had a huge yard in the front and the back, a 2-car garage, all this stuff, it's like suddenly, pow, you're lifted in. And so the most amazing thing from that move was the people who owned the house that my mom and dad bought it from, they were not interested in taking the piano with them. They only had it as apparently, obviously, a piece of furniture, like some people, used to do back then and probably still do now. Nobody was seriously interested in playing it. So along with the house came this piano. They didn't want to even be bothered with moving it out of the house. And as soon as we came into that house, I mean, I was like 5 years old. My big job then was take my toy box out of the back seat and bring it into the house somewhere and put it against the wall because we're moving in. So she saw this piano. She knew about it. She knew, of course, that it was there, but I had no idea. So she comes in and sits down and starts wailing on this thing. She's playing like Chopin and Beethoven and, Debussy and all. And I'm like, I was mind blown, And I mean, you think you know who your parents are, even at that young age, but I'd never seen her do anything or heard her do anything like that, So that was the start. And then she got me lessons. My mom and my aunt chipped in the money together and paid for piano lessons for me. There was a virtuoso pianist named James Connell, and he lived in Bradley Beach at the time, but he was not able to make a solid living as a recital pianist. So he got himself a job as an art teacher in the Neptune School District. And this guy was amazing. He was playing anything. And I had lessons with him every Thursday, every Thursday after school for a while. My mom would take me and she would sometimes have her own lesson after me. She continued to study. In fact, we used to share the same study books. Up on this bookshelf, there's a book of Chopin preludes that we shared. What else do we have? Beethoven sonatas and some finger exercises. There's this series called Czerny. So it's like Czerny, the art of dexterity, the art of, I don't know, whatever, all these, it's like a series of like 6 different things to get you technically up to, playing classical pieces and stuff. So we used to share that. I still have those to this day. And I sometimes still get my face in them. I'm not beyond any of it. It's all a part of, my makeup.
You're not beyond any of it, but you're beyond so many musicians that we grew up listening to because of that classical training. We put you up there with Emerson and Jobson and Kerry Minnear of Gentle Giant and the guys who really, really studied and really got the dexterity and had the left hand and had the whole thing. And, that's no small thing for us because you kind of spoiled us with just the level or what Frank Zappa would say, statistical density of the music.
That's Frank Zappa.
Yeah.
Good guy. So, I think about him the other day. He's such a true artist. So,
well, and inspiring to us to be more than just the norm, right? And I'm really curious about a couple things regarding your start, which is, when do you start composing? Is that something that comes on naturally? And how does guitar come into play? So however you want to talk about that.
I started composing, really, it's sort of right along with the interest in it itself, because at the end of the day, what was amazing to me about my mom sitting there and playing this music, it was amazing that she could do it, like she had that ability, but the most amazing thing was the music itself, is how the music made me feel.
Mm-hmm.
It was so beautiful. That's really what it was. The most interesting thing was the music itself and how that made you feel. So that's what I wanted to, that's why I wanted to learn. And at that age, I'm not thinking about like, I'm going to be a composer one day. No, it's just like, I want to know how to make the sound, how to make those feelings, So that's what it was. Then you have to learn everything. I remember she taught me, first thing she taught me, even before she got lessons for me, she taught me C major scale, and she taught me the proper fingering, So, and the reason that what clicked in with her is why she found that I was interested in it was one day after watching her for like a while, and she used to ask, I would sit there and watch her for like as long as she would play, and on the weekends, she had more time because she didn't have her school teacher schedule. And there was a set of stairs. So the house was like, you open the front door and there was a foyer and the piano was against the wall in the foyer. Now, right next to that was a flight of stairs going upstairs to the upstairs bedrooms. If you sat on just the right stair, I believe it was like the third stair going up on the first staircase, you had a clear shot of the keyboard straight across it. You could just watch, you were well out of her way, and you could just see everything she was doing, both hands. And so one day she was playing some church hymns, and my mom was a really good sight reader, actually. Wow. She's an excellent sight reader. And she was playing, just going through the book. She'd like, page 1, play some stuff, turn it and just, carry on. And she played this one of my favorite church hymns back then was called Hark the Herald Angels Sing. And I was able to, when watching her, I focused on the right hand because the left hand was like quite mysterious. I could tell the melody was what she was doing up there. It was like, okay, that's leaving. And she went up, she was cooking in the kitchen, something, and she went up to go check on it. And I'd been watching her so much that I got up and I put myself on the bench, and I just, with one kind of finger, like henpecking, I pecked out the notes of the melody. And da 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 da. Well, she comes running. I think I did that much of it, actually, And she came running back in from the kitchen saying, she said, do that again. And I did it again, but I did it in this real kind of, like henpecking way. Mm. And she was like, okay. And then she sat me down and showed me a better way to do it. That was the beginning of her teaching me piano basics. She just taught me the scales and proper fingerings and stuff. But I meandered from your original question. But to get back to it, what was most interesting was the music itself and how it made me feel. And then I got the feeling of like, yeah, I do want to write music. I want to know how to make people feel that way.
But of course, it's so wonderful that you had this connection with your mom, mm-hmm. and that it was so deeply musical, emotional, love of music, and just having that not many people have that.
Yes, I'm blessed about that. And an aside to the conversation is the town of Belmar is going to honor my mom and myself with a piano. They have this digital instrument. It's a digital piano in a concrete shell. It's designed to live outside all the time. There's about 12 of them in the world, maybe a few more now, but there's one in Cambridge, Massachusetts. There's one in London. A couple of universities around have them. And on the 3rd of May at 2:00, we're going to have a ceremony from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. And the town is going to, honor my mother and myself, and just where I get to explain the effect that she had. She not only helped out the E Street Band and all that kind of stuff, but the effect she had on a whole lot of other people in the area at the time. My mom was a school teacher professionally, and she spent a lot of her time and effort helping her students and people in town, in my town and other towns, get into college and continue their education, and was just an all-around special human being. So they're going to, say a lot of nice stuff about me and the Hall of Fame and all that stuff. But then we're going to talk about Mom a bit, and then we're going to have a brief performance with myself, Ernest Carter from Tone, and Tommy LaBella, saxophonist, who's also with the E Street Band at the moment. And we're just going to do some acoustic versions of a few songs that I wrote around that time of, I really wrote them around that time of after I left the E Street Band, and I started making records when I did Forest of Feelings and all mm-hmm. that. We're just going to go chronologically and play some of the songs that I wrote, in that house, in the town, and that's it. But that's going to be, again, May the 3rd, and Belmont at the town square. It's right, and because it's outside, and hopefully we don't get rained out or anything, but it should be a nice event.
Now, is your mom still with us?
My mom is not still with us. She passed away in 1997.
But clearly, just a big impact as a teacher. I mean, I'm a teacher, and I'm the son of two teachers.
Oh, wow. There
You
you
know,
go.
my dad was an art teacher. My mom was a ESL teacher, and music nuts. You know, just music fanatics. So that and we have that in common, and also the growing up with NEW. I've said this to a lot of people that you know, you don't realize what it's like to have that as your pop radio station, where you got everything.
Yeah, you got everything. And it wasn't compartmentalized like that. It wasn't so stratified. It wasn't like demographics, you know, specific. It
No,
was just, here's some good ass music. Check it out. You know,
yeah,
it was wonderful.
yeah. Like 3 PM, they'd be playing Genesis. You know, it wasn't
Yes.
like they
Yeah.
threw anything on. And then we had Allison Steele, the Nightbird at
That was fantastic. I remember on the shows, you could hear Joni Mitchell, and then here comes Jimi Hendrix next tune. You know, you know, it was wonderful, and she always found a way to like connect it. It wasn't just like random slapdash or anything. And it was the other thing too. I mean, she especially was really into music, and she would have an idea of, you know, here's a why, not why I'm playing this song followed by this song, but just some kind of connection, you know, to where this all can kind of belong together and doesn't have to be, you know, strange to anyone. But yeah, that I feel really, really blessed because radio today, man,
oh,
is it's quite different. Just without getting into a whole conversation about the radio, it's quite different. And I feel like you that I benefited greatly from having that variety on such a daily basis. That was normal, you know.
well, I say we were spoiled without knowing we were being spoiled. You know,
There you go. Yeah.
we were just and also it was ear training in a way too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely will training too.
I'm curious about classical, if we could just for a minute. Who were your favorite composers? Who were you really digging? I'm hoping you're going to talk about Debussy a little bit.
Well, you beat me to it. But even more than, not more than, but who I would put first if I'm going to start listing people, which is, again, pretty silly. But to this day, my favorite classical composers are Chopin, very much into Chopin, and Debussy also. I like the romantic, you know, that whole era. Because, and to this day, I remember Chick Corea said something about Chopin one time, and he was working on a piece. Chick was so like into working on it. And I remember who's telling the story? Was it Benny or someone? But saying like, okay, they had finished the set, and everyone's going back to the hotel to like chill out after a great set. And the acoustic piano at the venue was like a really good one. So Chick stays, it was like perfectly tuned and everything. So Chick decides he's going to stay behind and work out he's working on like Chopin or something, or, you know, a Mozart piece, you know. And
Yeah.
just like that depth, that a whole other dimension of, I don't know, dedication, you know. But again, he wasn't putting on airs for anybody. That was his natural thing, you know.
Yeah. The Chick stories are endless, you know, from Vinny, from anybody that's worked with him that witnessed that he just didn't have any barriers. You know, what an inspiration. And then I remember when he did the trio with Roy Haynes and Miroslav Vitus, that they were playing at the Village Vanguard, and he came out before the trio and he said, "I'd like to play some solo Scriabin for you."
Ah, look out. Get out of here. Yeah, really.
He didn't give a fuck, man.
Of all things to go for. That's some of the most physically challenging piano music that anyone's ever fucking wrote.
It's insane.
That's wild.
You know.
Yeah.
So were you inspired at all by the prog rock keyboard players of the day? Was that something that you were, because you seem to have like kind of surpassed them in so many ways, compositionally and technically, if you don't mind my saying so, but a lot of my listeners will agree. But I'm just curious about that, like ELP and these kinds of bands.
I appreciated all that. So I can't say that one particular player as a player made me go like, I mean, Keith Emerson was fantastic, of course, the ability on it. But it wasn't so much the individual keyboard players in the band, it was the band itself, like ELP as the sound of it. It's like three guys goes for it, organ, drums, and bass, and what we had at the time. And here comes a synthesizer. I like the band, and again, big difference from ELP to Genesis.
Right.
It's a whole other thing. Big difference from Genesis to Gentle Giant. Yes, so it was the bands themselves that I liked more than just the individual sort of players.
But very keyboard centric music, because a lot of those bands are, helmed by composer keyboard players who studied some serious classical, right?
Right.
You
I related to it, I mean, look at what these guys are doing. I thought it was great. I personally thought everything from, when did they say the British invasion started? Everything from the Beatles to onwards. I was just really, really into that whole universe of music. I thought it was fantastic. It was original. Nobody else was doing anything quite like it. And like, gotta be kidding me to not at least pay attention to it and check it out.
Yeah. Yeah. Visceral, very, in some ways, psychedelic, or at least creating imagery in your mind when you're listening, and very three-dimensional, very, I would say, somewhat challenging.
Yeah.
But here's another thing, David, that's interesting to me, especially as children of educators. I think that a lot of that music and that bubble that you're talking about from the 60s through the 70s is predicated upon an educated public. Public education had music. Mm-hmm. Music education was accessible at that time, right?
Right. That's right. Yes, I couldn't say it better, but that, you have to have some foundation for that. And like you say, that's what that was. And that seems to be not like a brand new thing, but it seems to be lacking and to have been lacking in public education for a long time. My mom would be pretty much heartbroken about the state of public education today. It would really be hard for her to understand how it could have, gotten to the state it's in. So unbalanced between the importance of it and I don't know, the compensation for it, the respect for it as a position, Yeah. She dedicated her life. Her first teaching post was at the age of 19 in Florida. She graduated Bethune-Cookman College, which was one of the first Black universities in America. And that was her first teaching post at 19. And then she carried on. And my folks were part of that great migration to get out of the South and to come up north and get into a little better situation. Mm-hmm. And then she ended up teaching, she taught fourth grade a lot, sixth grade, seventh, and eighth, I believe, for a while. And then she ended as a guidance counselor in high school in Neptune. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, that's someone who dedicated her life to the profession. It's hard. There's so many things, Greg, that are out of balance, not just a teacher's salary, but the structure of our society. Why is it so hard for people to maintain and grow? Not just like 30 days at a clip and then you're right back to where you were. Why does it have to be so hard? It's not a silly question, but firm grasp of the obvious to say it is that the system itself is unbalanced, and it's a very unfair economic system that we're all living under.
I hear you 100%. Yeah. In many ways, I feel like we are lucky that we're still able to make music and make people happy with music and have that impact.
Yes. Yeah. I think about that all the time. And I'm very much, I embrace my age. I embrace the era, the generation that I'm a part of, the baby boomer generation, and all the things that are associated with that. And I just continue to see, I keep seeing how, like, because the foundation was so good, the present moment is so good.
Yeah.
I keep seeing that every day. It's like, man, like you say, like, realize how good we had it. And because we had it so good, we have it so good right now.
Do you know, this is just a kind of tangential thing, but do you know the Buddy Rich tapes? Do you know the Paul Anka tapes?
Then he played me the Buddy Rich tapes. You talking about the stuff on the bus?
Stuff like that. But there's an Anka one where he's yelling at the band and the lighting guy and the production team, and they have a meeting, shut that door. Or I guess that's Buddy's shut that door. That's when you knew you were going to get reamed out. But no, it was to what you just said. Anka said to these people, if you got it good, you got to make it good.
There you go.
And we had it good, so we got to make it good.
There you go. And it goes together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep it going. And this tour is so exciting to me because we really are keeping it going. And all of the different levels of music that are going to be on this Open Secret tour, where it's going to be you and Will improvising on kind of looser structures, and then also some of your classic tone material, and then all the Mahavishnu stuff. It's going to be just such a range,
Yeah. That's the thing. I mean, speaking about what Will and I get up to.
Yeah.
That's what makes this project really not quite like anything else I've ever done. I mean, I personally, I feel if I had the right percussionist, the right drummer, I would go to war. I feel like, seriously, I mean, with the right person, with what I can do compositionally and what I can do sonically using a synthesizer, which gives me access to a universe of sounds. And with the right percussionist, the right foundation, and someone who can really get it rhythmically and not just technically do it, but bring their own sense of taste to it,
Yeah.
And I've had the good fortune to work with, lots of drummers to where it's like, okay, we're playing whatever music we're playing my music, say, and now we're interpreting it. But what Will and I get up to, because we do solid structured songs, some written by me, some written by Will, in which within those structured songs, we of course can improvise as we like. But what we get up to, which is again, not something I've ever done, is he's such a good improvising partner that we can improvise together in real time on a stage. And the things that we come up with are really stunning. We listened back to something, I believe there's an example of it on my YouTube channel. There's two examples of music. And one of them is called The Vest. Will has this electronic instrument where it's like he has to wear it, and it's triggering all kinds of sounds and pulses and stuff. It's really wild. And he can improvise on that. And then I have a whole other sound set. I can just choose to, okay, well, I'm going to add this whole other texture to it. And then there we are both improvising. It's not like we sat down and go like, okay, the bridge is boom after not even signals, not like, hey, when I raise my hand, drop out. Or if I put one finger up, we're going to like A minor forever. It's not even like that. It's all a feeling of improvisation because we can listen to each other so well and respond. But the outcome of the music is really stunning. I swear to you, we played it for people and they swear that it's like, first of all, you guys wrote that and rehearsed it before you ever got on stage, and that is magic to me. So I've always been able to improvise on my own on a piano or, in each situation. But I've never had that to where I'm improvising in real time with another person, and that's what's amazing. And I still think, one of the greatest improvisers of all time was Keith Jarrett. Of course, you've listened to that music and it's just, again, you can barely believe, because he's telling the truth, that you didn't work on that and sort that out before you even touch that instrument.
Spontaneous composition.
That's it. And that's the thing, that to be able to do that with another person and on another instrument, you know. And again, I always remind people, you know, the piano is a percussion instrument as well. You know, you can't blow on it, nothing will happen. You know, you gotta touch this thing. You have to percuss it.
Yeah, right. Touches everything. Yeah.
It touches everything, you know. And this will be actually, it's only our second tour. We started this in 2018, and what else happened? And we moved in 2019. I did a brief project with Moshalou, with Dennis Chambers and Jeff Berlin. That was 2019. Actually, again, I don't want to. No, I shouldn't divert. I don't want to do that. I want to stay with what we're doing. But you know, Will and I think the last time we played was 2023 in Red Bank, New Jersey. At that, it's next to the Count Basie Theater. It's
the Vogel.
The Vogel, yeah. We had a great gig there, and we got it all recorded. And the one thing that we do have is that every time we've played live together, Robert Fraza Robert's like the third member of the Situation. You know? So Robert gets everything recorded perfectly, discreetly. So we have all of our tour from 2018 recorded, the Vogel thing recorded, and we're going to record every show on this tour. And eventually we're going to put some things out. We already have some snippets of things. There's examples of 2 Open Secret songs on my on the YouTube channel and my website, The Real David Sancious. And we, you know, the thing about it too, again, it's the byproduct of spontaneous composition. You know, we work so well together that a lot of it is just like, my whole thing is like, and Robert said this as well. He goes like, well, I'm just going to go into record as soon as you guys sit down. Because, you know, that it's the moments in between something that can be interesting. And then when that kicks in again, it's like a lot of stuff, you know, nothing gets lost.
Right.
Nothing's lost, and it's wonderful.
And anything could happen, so you better have it on record.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So that's really cool that you guys are going to be getting to do a spate of shows.
I know, man. Fraza, he did put together a really nice run of, I think they're like some quality venues, you know. It's going to be really nice. And again, what we're doing together, the whole package is a really nice presentation. I think it's really, really attractive. You know, if I wasn't me and I was somewhere and I saw what was going on, I would want to check it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That sounds super interesting to me, you know.
Well, and it's great to have you back playing your original stuff. I mean, so many people now are know you from the Sting stuff, or they know you from the Gabriel, or wherever they know you. But for me, you know, growing up listening to Tone, and in fact, I don't know if Fraza mentioned this to you, but my bass player, Brian Mooney, studied with Carboy.
Oh, no. Wow.
Yeah.
How about that? Wow.
You know, and of course, you know, I remember in '80 seeing you and Ernest duo open for Gentle Giant on their final tour.
What gig was that?
The Palladium.
The Palladium. Wow. Holy shit, man. Wow.
Remember it well.
Honest truth, I have forgotten it, but that sure did happen.
Yeah.
And it was Gentle Giant, right?
The last Gentle Giant, civilian, and they broke up.
Were we just like keyboards and guitars? It was like
keyboards and drums. I don't think you played guitar. I remember you played the Peanuts theme.
Yeah. Oh, I
right?
love it. It's just the two of us, though. No bass player.
Just the two.
Yeah. Wow. Man,
how's Ernest doing? I always think about Ernest.
He's doing really, really fine. We speak often, and we're doing some things together. It's going to be fun to hang with him for a couple of days in Belmar for the event on the 3rd, and then I'm going to have a day off in Belmar on the 4th. And but he's doing great. He's doing really, really well.
That's so great. Where's he based out of now?
He lives in South Carolina now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I forget his city, but he was based in the West Coast in California for quite a while. He left New Jersey at some point, and he moved. He moved to that same town that Bruce's parents used to live in. Can't think of it now. It sounds something. And then he moved to another place, and I think it got to a point where, and I think Vinny did this as well. The fire season in California became so frequent and constant that it was this whole concern about like the air itself, dude. It's like, even if there's no raging fire next to me, it's not quite what you want it to be. And I know, Vinny's located himself to where he's comfortable, and Ernest and his wife Alice, they moved to South Carolina, but they're happy.
That's great.
Yeah.
I don't want to take too much more of your time because I know you have a lot going on, but I did really just want to mention a couple of people that we've lost that you worked with, that I really know everyone worships the way I do and just admires them so much. But, recently we lost Jeff Beck.
Oh, man. Yeah. Yeah. Jeff was like, that's one of those experiences. Like everyone, you get to a certain level of doing things, and the phone rings and you pick it up and you can't believe who's on the other end. However it came about, I got the Jeff Beck gig through a promoter in London who used to book Sting a lot. And what happened was his regular keyboard player, you know what I'm talking about. Oh, he's on most of his live
Is
stuff.
it Jason?
Jason, yeah. Jason had a commitment to another tour. He had made a commitment. I think it was with Manu Katché or something. Anyway, he had a commitment, and Jeff had these gigs in Australia and Japan. And I got this gig. I was in Italy on a tour. I was actually touring with Zucchero, and it was about to end. And I was kind of like, I'm about ready for this to end, head home and have a vacation with the wife. And I got the call saying, Jeff would like to know if you'd be available to do the last leg of a tour. We rehearsed in Perth, Australia for about a week or so.
Now, this is you and Vinny and...
Me, Vinny, and Tal Wilkenfeld. And was it trio then? Was that it? And Jeff, the quartet. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's it. And we did some gigs in Australia and Japan. And, long story short, man, that's one of the people that I wish that I had more time to work with him, and that, we both would have been available to do stuff. We spoke about doing more stuff together. He actually talked about at some point, he goes, yeah, he knew I played guitar. And he'd seen me play guitar in the situations. He goes, yeah, we could do some. And I was like, come on, man. Yes, anytime, of course. Anything, anytime, anywhere. But, I got to know him, briefly again as a person. And I got to say, man, Jeffrey Beck, just one of the sweetest human beings in the world. We had such a comfortable, respectful time, off stage. We actually got to hang out in Japan at this... I think we were opening for Eric Clapton at the Saitama Super Arena.
Wow.
Okay. I think we did a few gigs in Japan. We had a couple of our own, but then in Tokyo, we were opening for him. And he said, so we finished the gig and it's like, it's late. He goes, and the promoter had told him about this club, like a music place, and we have late night drinks and they play some cool music. And he goes, yeah, I'm not sleepy. He goes, you want to hang? I go, yeah. So the two of us, me and Jeff and the promoter's assistant, got in a car and drove us and took us to this place. It was like 2:00 in the morning, and they're playing like Motown.
Yeah.
And it's this like dark Japanese bar. It was cool, and we just hung out, had a couple of drinks, and just talking about what our early lives were like and what we liked. It He was just the best. You know, he was a lovely person. And Jeff was funny as all get out. What I remember, he had this, he could do an impression of this comedian. You know what I'm talking about? Oh, it was a Jewish comedian famous for, I hate that my memory's really tight, but like old people's names and stuff, I can't remember as much as I like to. Anyway, he had this dead on impersonation of this comedian. And so it's about like 7:30 in the morning, and we're on our way from Australia to Japan. And me and Vinny are sort of in a line in the town, and Jeff breaks into this impersonation of this comic who is very famous in America back in the 60s. It wasn't Shecky Green, but like that.
Henny Youngman?
No, not even Henny Youngman. No, keep going.
Not Lenny Bruce.
Nope.
I don't know.
Shoot. Anyway, it was so deadpan, and Jeff, British Jeff, had this accent so down that and he could do it. He could just go on and riff with us, and we're like doubling over in laughter. We're in line trying to get onto the airplane, and like I'm holding Vinny up, he's holding me up from laughing, and we're just trying to like be cool in line of other people. But again, a brilliant musician, totally inspired me. I remember actually two things about Jeff. The first time I ever got high, smoked a joint, cannabis, I was on E Street in the house of the rabbi. His son, the rabbi's son, and I went to school together. Okay. And I remember, I'm going to forget what age I was exactly, but I think it was more like maybe 13 or something.
Mm-hmm.
So he rang me up. They literally lived just across the house from us on East Street. And something happened. I don't know, it must have been like summertime or something. His parents had gone away and left him in the house for like days. So he said, "Hey, Ray, have you ever like gotten high?" Okay, no, really, I heard about it, but I haven't done it. He goes, "Well, come on over. I got this new album." And the album he had was Beck Ola. The one with the big green apple. Oh my God, right? And I was already into playing guitar. I was trying to work it out, And my brother had something else by him. But I remember I went and bought that record. So my first hit of anything was like to that record. And we sat in the living room and like she dropped the needle on this record and like passed this joint around. I was like, oh my God, it's wild. But the music, and then after I did, I can remember, I swear to you, for hours, just dropping the needle. Okay, start at the beginning, and I'm trying to keep up note for note, right? Get your sound together. Okay, I got the first like 10 notes, back up, hit it again. Okay, I got 15 notes now. It's just that, like a lot of that over and over to just like get it. The way he played, try to understand his phrasing, which is so unique. I mean, nobody can. I've heard a few people who figured out how to get that sound and do some stuff, but he's just like his own voice on the instrument.
It was a voice.
Special, really special. But he totally inspired me to play the guitar, along with Eric Clapton and Jimi Hendrix. Those are my top three guitar players were Jimi Hendrix, Eric Clapton, and Jeff Beck.
Yeah.
Everybody else could not take a seat, but I got you.
That. I know you're a Holdsworth guy too, though, right?
Yes, of course. Alan came really later down the line of influence, but yeah, Alan Holdsworth. Again, a voice. Who does that? A voice on the instrument, man. And keyboard players for me, the three were like Herbie Hancock, Keith Jarrett, and Chick Corea. And
RTF? Return to Forever?
Oh, please. Yeah. Yeah. And again, it was the mind-blowing things. When you hear an example of like someone, like we were talking before about someone who's classically trained and you have the harmonic, language to even come up with those changes. And then your rhythmic sense is so fucking, it was like, that song cracked me up and they had a different ending sometimes they used to do live than the recorded ending. It was so crazy. It was like fucking Stravinsky at the end of that thing, this series of accents,
Yeah.
But very exciting to hear that, all that music. Yeah.
And very early on, Lenny White picks you up.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you, man, after Forest of Feelings came out, the phone rang. That's how I got hooked up with Peter Gabriel. I got a telegram from the record company saying Peter Gabriel has left Genesis and he's wants to put something new together. Are you interested? That's how we met. And then Stanley, the same thing. I got a phone call. I remember I was in that basement in 1105 hanging out with my friends because the album was out. All my school friends and everything. We used to get together in the basement. And, oh, man, you got your own record. And I had equipment down there. We had guitar amps, a drum kit. Ernest had a drum kit down there. I had a synthesizer. And we're down there hanging out one day. And my mom is in the kitchen. She goes, David, there's a phone call for you. Someone named Stanley Clarke wants to talk to you. And we're all like, yeah, okay, hang on. And that's how I worked with Stanley for a bit. But
well, Billy produced Forest of Feelings, Billy Cobham.
He did. That's right. And that was his first production gig also. Yeah.
That's such a cool beginning too. There's so many influences on Forest of Feelings, so many areas of music. And then you continue to do that. And now I wanted to mention to people that you have Dance of the Age of Enlightenment has been speed corrected and remastered.
Yeah. Yeah. What a story that was. Oh my God. It was a long time coming. I think it's one of those things again too, where you have to be grateful to have such a long arc that you can see wrongs get righted, and that's very exciting. Iconoclastic Records, God bless him, made all that happen. And again, Robert Fraser did the remastering. Robert and I have been working with him exclusively since like 1991.
Yeah. And
Robert helped put my studio together in Woodstock for years. But yeah, it's really good. It's nice to hear it. It's nice to hear it at its original speed, and it's nice to hear it sort of with a nice little frequency bath, to really highlight everything that's in there. So
I love it. I know the story of it. We don't have to get into it, but I know how much you put into the writing on that album and what a gem it is of keyboard virtuosity and composition.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And then you just kick our asses with True Stories right after that, where now you're bringing in the gospel influence, which did not get by me at all. I mean, when I heard that there was a flavor of black music in jazz rock, fusion, art rock, prog, whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
That's a singularity, man. That album and that vocal force that you had and the arranging and it's yes, but it's gospel, but it's soul, but it's rock.
Yeah. Thank you, Greg. I mean, those are all deep compliments. That was a very special time. And again, the energy of all that music, it all still exists.
Yes.
And again, that's the beauty of what we do. And that's the beauty of why, even though we don't have Chick with us anymore, can't hang out with them, can't have dinner, can't hang out with Jeff, can't play with them, but we have all of the music that came through them. And it is as vibrant and as fresh as if it was done yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Every note of it. You couldn't point to a song or an album by any of those artists that you could put it on and not have your mind blown. If you never heard it before, it would be like the first time you heard it.
Yeah.
But for all of us who we heard it originally and it's in our lives now, it doesn't get old. It will never ever be old.
Like Jan Hammer, First 7 Days.
Yeah.
It's eternal. Jeff Beck Wired.
Yeah.
Romantic Warrior.
Yeah.
It just, but I put your stuff right in there too, because we were experiencing that and heard you with Stanley, heard you with Lenny and John Anderson,
John, right?
But yes, you're right.
Quick story about Romantic Warrior, about that album, because that's his record. Gail, his wife, told me that Chick actually wrote that whole album after dinner one night. Yep, he went down in the studio. They're hanging out. They had lunch. He went in the basement and wrote, his part of it after dinner. Wrote the whole thing, and then they went and recorded it. Anyway, not to divert from the genius.
Well, and let's just say before we sign off, if you want to experience that energy and that creativity, come out to the Open Secrets tour, Mahavishnu Project. Special guests for David and Will Calhoun playing their new music, and we're honored to be working with you guys and folks.
Feeling spiritual, man.
This is going to be an extravaganza that is not very common these days. So, David, thank you so much for talking today. And
thanks for having me. And I'm looking forward to all of us being together and doing all this. It's really
we're going to bring it.
Yeah.
We're going to bring it all. So everybody, David Sancious, the great guitarist, keyboardist, composer, we are so pleased that he's back on the road doing instrumental music and other. And we'll see we got some surprises that are going to be in there.
Yeah. Thank you, man.
Thanks okay. David, thank you so much. See you next time, everybody.